Let's return to the rail fare increase, which has been announced. Fares going up, a lot of fares, not all, but a lot of fares going up from March by 5.9%. Let's speak to the Shadow Rail Minister, Tan Desi, who joins us now from Westminster. Mr Desi, thank you. You're not in Westminster at all, you're in Slough. It says on the screen, if only I read it. Mr Desi, thank you for joining us. 5.9%, I mean, that's a lot lower than inflation. What's your view?
Look, Martina, I stood up in the House of Commons just last month. I asked the Transport Secretary that given crumbling services, given that the rail recovery itself is fragile, and given the Conservative-induced the cost of living crisis that many people up and down our country are suffering from, that now would be the worst possible time for a rail fare hike. Instead, what's been announced today is a near record 5.9% rail hike. And I think that that is at a time when many people we see out there striking for their wages, when many individuals are not seeing their wages rise by as much as 6%. So that is why people within our country will see this as a sick joke, that at the same time when we have rail fare rises of almost 6%, we've got cancellations, we've got certain areas of our country whereby trains will not be running for weeks, if not a month, as is the case for Chiltern Railways. We've got those who are travelling via Avanti and via TransPennine Express and other operators seeing their services in decline.
But we could, sorry to interrupt, but we could have seen a much bigger increase because of the rate of inflation, and the government's kept them down because he said this is more in line with the pay increases that we are seeing in certain sectors. Look, the rail companies are seeing their costs go up too, aren't they? So somewhere there has to be more money going in. And you mentioned crumbling services. Things are not going to improve if we don't increase the amount of money going in.
Martin, look, this will be of little consolation to many within our country because we already have the highest rail fares in Western Europe. And we need to bring people back onto our rail. As I said, this is a fragile rail recovery. And the only way to bring people back is to invest in our railways and to insulate people from such huge fare hikes. And that is why we asked the government that, look, we need to be investing to have more services rather than cutting services. And what should have also happened is that there should have been a negotiation. That's something else that I've been requesting them, that rather than gunning for rail strikes, months ago, what the Transport Secretary and what the government should have been doing is to negotiate with the rail unions. But instead, what has happened recently is the Transport Secretary at the 11th hour torpedoing talks when there was a negotiation which was coming to full fruition. So that's why we have been saying that, and Labour has a plan. We don't want the government to be putting tens of millions of pounds into the pockets of operators who then pass it on to shareholders. We need to bring rail into public ownership as and when the franchises expire. We also want to ensure that we deliver Northern Powerhouse Rail in full, as well as HS2 in full, including the Eastern Leg, the East-West Rail and other projects. And we need to ensure that we are integrating our rail system along with other transport systems, such as our buses and our trams. And that's the way that we can bring people back onto rail, not by discouraging them through such huge fare hikes.
Tan Desi, Shadow Rail Minister, we appreciate you joining us. Thank you very much.